Good morning from sunny Minnesota in the middle of January. We have a cold, clear day here, and so this is good air to send Reiki intention through today again. We're real fortunate right now this year to have actually pretty warm, unfrigid weather. So I think today what I'll do is kind of start out where we left off with what we were talking about was wisdom, and I'd like to give you a quote by the fifth, I believe it was the fifth Dalai Lama. And you know, it's kind of strange how language changes, how the words change, and the words that change the whole meaning of the sentence. But as I was looking this up on the internet, now I had the original text, which I knew what that said, and so I guess what I'm saying is to, you know, look when looking for that original thought on the internet, just keep in mind that some of the words may change. What I noticed was that this particular quote by the fifth Dalai Lama, who was a long time ago, has changed slightly even over the past couple of years, and somebody has changed that, and so it kind of changes the meaning. But I'm going to go with his original statement. What I'm saying is that when I looked it up on, I'll explain it when I get to that part, but as I looked it up on Google, it changed it so much that it changed the entire meaning. And I'm going to start out with this wisdom quote because I've always thought that this one was really interesting and helpful. It pertains to openness and wisdom. As the fifth Dalai Lama said, in human history, insofar as it is a history of human institutions, whether religious or political in nature, is a tragic testimony to the simple fact that wisdom defies formalization, and formalization makes a mockery of wisdom. Wisdom is an outlook and attitude characterized by mindness and impartiality and freedom from prejudice and dogma. Wisdom is not doctrines or slogans or adherence to any sort of orthodoxy. Because wisdom can never be successfully codified or formalized, and because it is by its very nature expressed in openness, it follows that wisdom can never be the exclusive property of any one religious or philosophical system. And that is by the fifth Dalai Lama. Now, what I ran across in looking this up was on Google was that they asked me if what do you mean? Well, I meant what I said. I had put in the first part of the quote, and it asked me what I mean, and asked me if I meant wisdom defies formalization and informalization makes a mockery of wisdom. And I would say, no, Google, I meant wisdom defies formalization and formalization makes a mockery of wisdom. The other thing that I noticed has changed over the past couple of years about this particular quote is that the original, as far as I know, and I really dug in on it, said wisdom is an outlook and attitude characterized by mindness and impartiality. And what I've noticed is that somebody has edited and altered this. I can tell you that I used to work in the newspaper business, and I'm kind of like used to proofreading and noticing this type of thing. It was one of these things I actually got paid for, is, you know, finding the typos. So this is one thing that I noticed has changed. Instead of saying mindness, it has now been changed to open-mindedness. And there's probably, you know, no problem with that. It just makes it clearer for people, but all the same, it would be better to leave what is fine alone, I think. But I'm going to have this in the beginning of the video also as a reading, the original one, in case anybody would like to take this down. And so we can go back to that same principle about wisdom, and as I was saying, to be an open channel is to be open to the knowledge of the universe. So that is what this document is also saying. Some religious entities might take offense at this, but wisdom is not the sole property of any one belief system, which is the great equalizer called God. Okay, and the other part where we were leaving off had to do with chakra work. Actually, I think I will cover that a little bit later in another video. And right now I want to continue talking about how that energy works. And somebody like me who's sending out the energy, the things that I've noticed. Now, there are some people that are born with Reiki and have gotten it some other way. I've been told, you know, all my life, oh Jill, you're so talented, you know, you just have it. And, you know, as a child with my artwork, yes, that's what I was channeling. I think it probably went pretty awry about the time I was in my teens, and it began to be feeling like, you know, it's all so how can I say, this is kind of upsetting to talk about, that's why I'm slowing down, but my way of doing things felt it felt so overly like I was supposed to do this some sort of very formal way, you know, some sort of paint by number. Well, So of course what happens with that is the channel gets closed, and the expectations are there to do a thing paint by number, and if that channel starts to get closed and those it just doesn't work. So so I kind of got clogged up about that time in my life. And but anyway, as far as my art anyway, I continued on with doing my art, and it's such a big love of mine. I worked with art, and in commercial art I found that to be kind of not so fulfilling all the time, you know, doing things for money, and just because that's the way, you know, was expected again, and I could do it, you know, but it was again one of these things that made me feel kind of clogged up. And so after that I went to college and became an art teacher, and now that I gotta say that was quite interesting. I got to kind of pass on what I knew about actually the techniques and principles, things like mass, form, shape, color, techniques. But at the same time, I just really didn't have any time to actually do any artwork myself. It kept me really busy. So and it was, you know, quite rewarding to see the kids and what they were coming up with. I gotta say though, again, it was the formalization of, you know, the particular place that I was working at that was really problematic, both for the kids who, you know, objected to that, and myself. I got to this point where the society was expecting us to use, you know, sharp objects in class, which meant that we're back to using tools like kindergarten scissors, and I'm teaching 7th through 12th grade, and they're a lot more advanced than that. I was actually teaching them college material because that was one thing that was really kind of important to me as a teacher, was to teach them how. Also, I taught them how to meditate, and well, you know, that wasn't exactly an appropriate way to do things in that particular facility, but I'm glad that I got through to some of the students anyway. I know I did, you know, I saw it happening, and it's a wonderful thing to see somebody else really get it about meditation, and really get it about how to open up that channel so that they can, you know, receive knowledge and creativity and that type of thing. So anyway, that was something that I was including, and after that I continued to practice meditation myself, having actually seen how well it works, you know, with students. And I came across Reiki, and one of the things that I discovered was that it's pretty well known that anybody who's getting into Reiki can increase like their healing level by about 50% or more, can increase their meditation abilities exponentially by getting into Reiki. So this is something that I jumped on right away, and there are a lot of things that happen once you start to get into Reiki internally that you're going to find happen with your feelings and with things happening around you after you start getting attunements. Okay, and this might freak you out a little bit, but now one thing that I've said is that my hands get hot, and that tells me that I'm ready to send this energy out. And this is after being attuned. So once I've consciously focused enough on, accepting energy from others for attunements, I will get these physical sensations that are indicators of when it's proper to be sending out this energy and when it's going to be most effective. And as I say, it is, 50% more effective once the attunements have been done. So, I really encourage a lot of meditation and a lot of attunements, a lot of grounding. I myself is an empath who feels other people's pain and can actually see it on them. Need to consistently ground myself, sometimes many times a day, so that I don't absorb any kind of negative energy from it. Another thing that can happen is that it raises the frequency of your vibrations, and so you might find, as I have, that kind of strange things happen in your surroundings with electrical equipment. Right now, the E-key on my the E-key on this laptop is stuck. It's no big surprise to me. That's not a big thing. But you might have all kinds of problems with, you think are problems with electrical equipment. It's because your own electrical system is changing to match that higher frequency, and you might find things like light bulbs blowing out more frequently, or anything with electrical. Look out for anything that might happen with computers. Anything that can happen might. There was a time that I went out to check the horse's fence in the dark with a headlamp on. I'll give you this example. And it's one of those headlamps that you put on the top of your head, and I had to go check the gate and let the horses in. And I totally blew that headlamp out. It just does not work anymore. My partner Steve worked on that thing for probably about 3 hours trying to fix it after I wore it, but that's one of the things that can happen. I'm not going to go through everything, but a person can start to put on weight as this happens, and don't worry too much about it. It'll come back off as we're getting balanced. Let's see, what else? You might have physical sensations of different prickly feelings throughout your body. You might be picking up on other people's pain. You might find yourself getting really kind of irritable around people for quite a while. I'm gonna quit here while I'm behind. You know, there's all kinds of information on YouTube other people can give you, and I don't want to get into all that negative stuff today, but it's not really negative. It's, you know, consider it, it's part of the growth process, and you know, as humans we need to go through some pain also to get to the good stuff. So there is all kinds of information about this particular topic on YouTube, and I think that gives you kind of a little bit of an idea of what'll happen with somebody who's getting into Reiki. And then the other parts of it, of course, are that, you know, as somebody who's doing the attunements, it's helping to straighten out my particular flow of energy in my body, so I can feel like I'm a much clearer channel. As far as my artwork, I can say for sure that it's just, you know, the ideas and things are coming in so fast that I can hardly keep up with myself, and that's a very joyous thing for me. I'm very open to that, and my chakras are feeling more balanced. I'm feeling more calm than other times. So what else? And I'm able to kind of help people out more because I'm able to see this energy better. So those are really the upsides, and of course they very much overwhelm the downsides. So what happens is that as people who do Reiki, you know, we can start to see the life force flowing through other people, and the auras of the chakras, and it makes it easier to communicate with another person who's open to it, with my own higher self and my guides. One thing about spirit guides is to actually ask them to, like, come into the room, acknowledge them, say hello to them, invite that kind of thing. And then they are there for you. And so as a person does Reiki, they get more adept at moving this negative psychic energy out of the body, as well as the physical pains and disease and other negative things. So that's where that 50% increase, I think, is really interesting, and is why I jumped on this. So after an attunement, you might be really surprised at the difference you can feel between the healing energies that you had formerly felt and that you feel now. They operate at a much higher frequency. it's also a powerful healing experience. I had somebody else do a zero balancing on me that was really interesting, and it's one other mode of healing that I would like to eventually get into myself. I don't right now know enough about chiropractic, but I had a nurse do a 10-minute zero balancing on me, and at the time I had my root chakra kind of stuck, and it was just amazing the energy that the woman put in there, and it was so powerful that what happened was my hands got just really, as she was doing it, my hands and my feet got extremely cold, and I felt a kind of heating sensation move down through my head down to that root, and it was like she actually took this clog and just like threw it across the room. I immediately started to sob with relief, and it was I felt it go like right out my feet, and this was like probably in a matter of about 15-20 seconds, and then the energy started kind of moving up and down, and so I just continued sobbing. It was one of those really wonderful feelings, and this person was a nurse. So I think nurses are superheroes. They do wear capes. Historically, that's proof that they are superheroes, and I'm hoping that people who do Reiki to become another part of this superhero mode that changes the world. So there you go. Reiki can never cause harm, and because Reiki is guided by God consciousness, that is why that is. It always knows what a person needs, and it will adjust itself to create effect that is appropriate for that person. One need never worry about whether Reiki is or is not. It is always helpful. In addition, the practitioner does not direct the healing and does not decide what to work on or what to heal. That's best left up to the source. So the practitioner is not in danger of taking on the karma of the client. And because the practitioner is not doing the healing, it is also much easier for the ego to stay out of the way and allow the source, what we call God, to clearly shine through. Now, this is something I ran across in LinkedIn, actually, in a group that I was in, and I thought immediately, now what happened was there was this young man in there who was getting started with Reiki as a practitioner, and he had some questions, and his instructor told him that he needed to know his energy better, and that a lot of Reiki practitioners don't know their energy well enough and are using mixed modalities to send it, which can be harmful. And so what I'm saying here is that that's ridiculous. When somebody puts out good intention, it's good intention, and I don't think that instructor was a mind reader for what he said. A lot of Reiki practitioners, well, that to me was, really kind of vague and a negative statement. So what that instructor was saying was really that we're not doing this in good intent, and I don't know how that could possibly be said, about anybody who is sending out this energy. It's kind of an oxymoron, I'll say. So they were dissuading this young man from doing this, and I was looking at what was going on, and the man was talking about working with his brother in the Reiki treatment with him, and it was almost too powerful. It really did work. And I think that what was actually going on was that in this case, you had an instructor with an ego problem finding this young man really kind of a threat maybe to his career, because the instructor is, wanting to be able to do this and say that he's the only one that really knows his own energy well enough to be doing this, and therefore make a lot of money doing it. That's not a good reason to be doing Reiki to begin with, to be making money. This is a universal abundance that is free, and I'm going to say there's no charge for good intent. So I thought really what was being said to that young man was just highly inappropriate. And the other thing that I heard going on in the discussion was somebody in there was saying that the practitioner can take on the karma of the client, and so I wanted to put that in there, that this just doesn't happen. That's where I believe that there's that built-in protection you call the source that's going to be putting up that violet flame shield for us to protect us from taking on other people's karma. And the thing about karma is that karma can't be transferred to other people. Karma is a thing for each individual to work out. Each person has their own karma, just like each person has their own tendencies and things that they were born to do. So ego really doesn't have a place in Reiki. And as a practitioner, and because it's channeled healing, the practitioner's energies are never depleted. In fact, the Reiki consciousness considers both practitioner and client to be in need of healing, so both receive treatment. And so this is a useful thing for me too. It balances out my energy when I give out energy. Oh boy, we're already at 35 minutes, and so I'm going to close this session, and you keep absorbing those rays, and please join me for part 4, which I'll have up in at least a couple days, okay? So, namaste.